Opening night for the Spurs as they are on the road in Dallas to take on the Mavericks. Tip-off is set for 8:30 tonight as you can catch former number one overall pick Victor Wembanyama against this year's number one overall pick, Cooper Flagg. Another day, another Cowboys NFL insider with some Cowboys trade rumor as Jeremy Fowler reports the Cowboys are on the hunt for an impact defensive player.
This is Extra Innings with Pleasure.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
That ball is history. A walk-off home run.
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge. What's up, Dad? Can't stop me now.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. I appreciate you joining me however you may be joining me. Whether that's on 94.1 on your FM dial, if you happen to be locked in listening live at sasportstar.com via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player, or if you're watching the show live on YouTube. That's right, we stream all of our shows on YouTube, whether that's the Morning Huddle, the Blitz, or right here at the Extra Innings with Pleasure. Just go to YouTube, search SA Sports Star, like and subscribe while you're there. You're able to comment along with the show, or feel free to comment the old-fashioned way. Give us a call, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Always appreciate y'all riding along with me, and we got a lot to get into because the Spurs do tip off the season tonight. As you heard in SportsCenter, taking on the Mavericks, of course, number one versus number two, Cooper Flagg versus Dylan Harper. You've got Wemby, the top pick, consensus for Defensive Player of the Year, and expectations are very, very high for the San Antonio Spurs as they get ready to start the season. So what does that mean? Well, earlier this morning on the Morning Huddle, they went to Vegas to find out what it means about the start of the Spurs season, where they are in the throng of things in the Western Conference and overall landscape of the NBA. They went to Mackenzie Rivers of pregame.com, who was joining them from Vegas.
And we'll start with the Spurs, man, because this is a team here that we've been kind of waiting to take that next step. And the expectation, at least here in San Antonio, Mac, is that these guys are going to be a playoff team this year. And the win total for San Antonio is set at 44.5. What's your thoughts on the Spurs? Where do they sit, and what do they have to do to take this next step?
I kind of view the Spurs the same way I do the Mavericks, that they're probably going to be about an average team, but their upside is championship caliber. Victor Wembanyama in his second year, I know he didn't play the full year, but the stats were eye-popping. They were the fifth best. He was the fifth best player in the league, according to my favorite metric, estimated plus minus. Just how much do you impact the floor? Because a lot of it you don't see on the stat sheet. A lot of it's just people not shooting at the basket within 8 feet of it because of what Victor is doing. I think I'm really worried about the guards without De'Aaron Fox, at least to start the season. Rookies really never contributed to winning basketball in NBA history. Cooper Flagg's trying to change that. Dylan Harper is going to have to change that. He's going to start at point guard for them. So I think they have a high upside, but if they don't get the guard position right, or if Victor goes down, I could see them back in the low 40s.
Let's look at the top end of the West, at least probably all the NBA. Certainly we look at OKC, the Death Star, everybody's chasing them. But what is it about Denver that has changed, that has put them into maybe even a 1A status in a lot of people's eyes?
When they won the championship in 2023, yes, it was Jokic being the best player in the world, which he still is, but they had a lot of help. They had Bruce Brown, they had KCP off the bench, and that's kind of what they mirrored in this offseason, changing a little bit of that top-end talent out for Michael Porter Jr., but Cam Johnson, the backup center, Jonas Valanciunas, they're just a deeper team. They ran out of bodies against OKC, otherwise they really could have beat them with Aaron Gordon's Game 7 injury. They were as good as the best team in the league last year in a 7-game series. So that's why people think, they're 1A.
Do you?
I don't. I think they are right there with Houston, right there with, I think the Warriors might be in that class, a step below the Thunder, because the Thunder don't have Jalen Williams for a game. They don't have Hartenstein for a few weeks. They're almost as good. They have a lot more anti-fragility than a team like the Nuggets, where if Jamal Murray, and this has happened a lot, has a slow start to the season or is out for a few months, they could be battling with all these other teams to be for playoff seeding.
Let me ask you about a couple of teams that I think are maybe a little bit overrated, and I am a known New York Knicks hater. And I know everyone's trying to find the new team in the Eastern Conference because the Celtics are out, but I'm a big believer that if you have Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, then it makes you a bad defensive team. And when you have them on the floor, you have to do all this pick and roll stuff, which means you don't get to use Mikal Bridges and OG to the best of their abilities. Is there a way that this can be an even average defensive team with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the floor at the same time?
It's unlikely. I think it's an uphill battle, but you look at what the coach Mike Brown did with Sacramento, and it was the same question. You have Sabonis on the floor, you have De'Aaron Fox on the floor. That's your best point guard, your best center. They're not good defensively. How do you work it? And they weren't a great defensively in Sacramento, but they were better. They at least bought in to his system. So I don't think it's a personnel change. I think it's a mentality change. And all the Jalen Brunson supporters will say he doesn't care about his stats. He cares about winning. Well, he has had plenty of opportunities to not be like a score-only point guard that is able to move off the ball. Mike Brown will ask him to do that. I'm kind of skeptical, too, when it comes to the playoffs, that they're going to be as good as some of these, as Cleveland or even the Magic in the half court.
Let's talk about Cleveland and the Magic. Certainly everybody's little, I wouldn't even call them a dark horse anymore. The Magic are a good basketball team. We expect vast improvement, where Cleveland, they're just trying to run it back again. Of the two, which has the best possibility of actually coming out of the East?
There's a crazy stat with the Magic where since 2012, since Dwight Howard left, of all people, they haven't had an above average offense or even a top 20 offense ever. And this is supposed to change this year with Desmond Bane. I'm optimistic that they're going to be good. But as far as who has the best chance, I've seen it with my own eyes that Donovan Mitchell can put up 30 a game in a big series. And I think Evan Mobley, a couple years behind him, age-wise, could be their best player by the end of the year. So I think Cavs have the best upside. They haven't shown it so far in the playoffs as a team, but I think individually they have the higher upside.
Are they the best in the East? In your mind, the best in the East?
Yes, I have them as my second best team in the league. I have them a little bit better than the Nuggets and the Rockets. Definitely the best team in the East.
I think a team that's got, and Rob and I talked about these guys a lot this morning. I think a team that has a lot of upside and maybe even like Eastern Conference Finals potential, but also could miss the playoffs, is the Sixers. And at least early on, like one of the most baffling lines tonight is that the Celtics, to me, are favored against the Sixers. I think the Sixers right now, with a healthy Embiid, are a better team than the Celtics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Sixers, if Embiid is healthy and motivated, and it seems like maybe he is for once, this could be a pretty good team with Tyrese Maxey there, and eventually getting back Paul George and getting back McCain. This feels like a team with really high upside. What are your thoughts on the Sixers and where they end up this year?
I agree with you that they should be favored versus the Celtics tonight. I think that's kind of a wild speculation that the Celtics with Anthony Simons and their new look team is going to be better than the Sixers. They aren't really a new look team. They have all their guys. They just haven't put it together. But my favorite play for tonight, for your listeners, Joel Embiid over 4.5 assists. He played for the first time in 8 months, a couple days ago in the preseason, looked svelte, looks Luka-esque, 20 pounds lighter. And in 19 minutes, he had 8 assists and 4 turnovers. So he's not trying to put his body on the line. He's trying to be a little more like Jokic, be a little more distributor from the top of the nail. And I think he'll be able to do that. However, you say if the Sixers are healthy, they're never healthy. Paul George is already going to miss the start of the season. So they're kind of like the Mavericks. They could win the championship, and I would not be shocked. I've seen crazier things. They have great guard play, like you said, in Tyrese Maxey, and maybe even in the rookie Edgecombe. And they probably have the best center power forward combination healthy in the NBA with Paul George and Joel Embiid. We haven't seen it, but I would definitely say on a one-game basis, fully healthy, they're a top 3 team in the East.
Is this going to be an all-time rookie class? Are we looking at an infusion of talent like we haven't seen in maybe 10, 15 years?
Here's the thing about rookies. If you look up the top 25 highest scoring rookies in NBA history, exactly one, Blake Griffin, is from the last 30 years. In modern NBA, no rookie has ever done anything, really. It's really because of maybe they stay in school for an extra year, or maybe they brought in an extra year early, but they're always developmental projects in the NBA. If Cooper Flagg is, as Bill Simmons says, immediately a top 30 player in the NBA, I think it's possible, but it would be unprecedented in NBA history. If Dylan Harper is what Chris Paul was to the Spurs last year and playing 82 games and being the floor general, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it would be a big outlier in terms of what we've seen rookies do. Usually there's a little bit of a growing up to do, and I would expect the same thing from this class.
Let me ask you then, I'm looking at this, and I actually made a little wager on this rookie of the year, a long shot, and I'll explain why. Because I think this is a guy who's not going to be asked to do a lot, but he's going to be on a team that wins a lot of games. I think Nikola Topic at 100-1 to win the rookie of the year, a guy who for most of this season, I think, is projected to be starting for the best team in basketball, is going to be able to put up some decent numbers just by default. Do you think that's a decent number to get on a guy like Topic?
I can never argue against the 100-1. Like, what do they say in the office? If someone gives you 10,000 to 1, you just take it. I think because Cooper Flagg is kind of mispriced as a 65% favorite, there are opportunities for value out there. Topic has to play, and he didn't play much last night. I think it's
he's got his testicular issue. Still, he'll be a couple games.
Funny.
Yeah, he's got a couple games before he's back from his nut injury.
His balls are just bulging out of his pants. They got to sew them back together. He was supposed to be a top 5 prospect coming out in his draft, and he had that pre-draft injury that dropped him to 13. I do think voters in general are looking more for who's contributing to winning rather than just putting up stats. I've heard a lot of people complain about we're not just giving awards to the highest points per game guys anymore. We're trying to look at the game holistically.
Let's look at the storylines as we head into the season. First and foremost, the Giannis watch. Expectations there. Will he be a buck after the trade deadline?
He's saying that, and I think it's 70-30 that he will be, and I think it's about 10% chance that he will be after this year. So it seems kind of like just a procedural thing, like nobody wants to rip the Band-Aid off, but it's a train coming down the tracks. He says he wants to compete. I do not see a path for the Bucks to compete this year or in the next couple years. So I think he might stay on that team. He might not, but it's coming to an end sooner rather than later.
I want to ask you about a couple of awards, and particularly how they affect a local guy here in Wemby. Wemby is a minus 175-ish favorite to be the defensive player of the year. You and I were I was texting with you last night, and we were talking about Alex Caruso. You get him at like 200-1. Now I don't know if guys like him will win it because there's no blocked shots and things like that come along with it. But to me, it almost feels like Victor, if you're almost betting, does he play the minimum amount of games to win the award? Is that kind of the way you see it? Like, as long as he plays that amount of games, this is the defensive player of the year?
100%. If he plays 65 games, the minimum, and he plays within 20%, if he's 80% of the defensive player he has been, the media narrative would love to hand this guy the award because it is remarkable. It is singular. He's averaging almost 4 blocks per game. Like in the 90s, when they used to attack the paint all the time, much more than they do now, Hakeem Olajuwon, the greatest defender of all time, in my book, would average like 4 blocks a game. So he's right there among the best defenders and definitely the flashiest defender. People would love to give him the award. But going back to estimated plus minus, my favorite all-in-one metric, I kid you not, Alex Caruso was the most impactful defender last year. He showed it in the playoffs guarding Jokic. He showed it last night guarding Sengun. It's not something that the traditional box score will pick up on, but yeah, he's right up there.
They'd have to win 70 games for them to consider him.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he wasn't the best defensive player according to the media on his own team. They gave it to Lou Dort, got more votes.
True,
but that's just because they're wrong. You know, they're not watching every game like us. Like us real degenerates.
The MVP then is there a world where Victor, if this team is a playoff team, if they go over their win total, they're at 45, 46 wins and they're a playoff team, is there a world where you can see Wemby getting into the MVP conversation, and is 12-1 a decent number on him, or is that still a year or two away in your mind?
No, I think he's right there. I think last year the numbers started to just show that, like, defensively they're like 15 points a game better, and they're not great when he's on the court, but they're 15 points per game better than the garbage that they put on the court without him, at least last year. So I think he maybe goes Luka, SGA, Jokic. Outside of that three, if the Spurs can win 50 games, he's going to be in that conversation.
And he should be, and that's why he's also the best defender in the game, not Alex Caruso. When you talk about the metrics, the Spurs are a top, I believe, 5 defensive team when Wembanyama was on the court last season. They were bottom 2 when he was off it. That kind of plus minus just is insane. So and I think that's one of the big reasons they brought in Luke Cornett, which is why we'll see a lot of French vanilla together, but we will see little bits and pieces with it. But it's mainly when Wemby's off, Cornett can be on, and the defense doesn't fall off a cliff in the same way, especially in the paint. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star. That was Mackenzie Rivers from pregame.com, joining them on the Buyers Barricades guest line, who provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond. Online, buyersbarricades.com. You can catch all of those interviews and full shows in the audio vault, powered by AA Best Bail Bonds. And it's amazing to me that the season is here, and there are definitely high expectations. I have high expectations for the San Antonio Spurs this year because of the roster that they finally put around Victor Wembanyama, to where, you know, your next best player isn't Devin Vassell anymore. You've got De'Aaron Fox, you've got Stephon Castle, you've added Luke Cornett and Kelly Olynyk to kind of help with the defense and the floor spacing in a sense. You've added Harrison Barnes, who brings you that floor spacing as well in the last few years. They've systematically added pieces to fit around Victor Wembanyama, and I need to see how this all comes together. And I think tonight's going to be a great litmus test for him with the Dallas Mavericks. I know no Kyrie Irving, but that is still a team that was on the cusp of making the playoffs. They've got Anthony Davis. They've got the pieces and parts. Kyrie Irving will be coming down the pike. And if Cooper Flagg's what we expected him to be, and I say we because let's face it, Spurs fans, we all wanted Cooper Flagg too. We wanted that number 1 overall pick. We all think he's that good too. Can he be that for Dallas and help supplement, especially being like the lead guard or the guy that brings up the ball in the absence of Kyrie Irving? It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out tonight. 8:30 tip time. Don't miss it. When we come back, though, San Antonio Sports Star, the Blitz. Jason and Joe joined by one of my favorite guys, the guy that used to host the Saturday Morning Hangover with me, RJ Ochoa, our original Rock the Mic champ, as the Dallas Cowboys are being mentioned in all kinds of trade rumors. Will it actually happen? Because I know my thought, I know most fans' thought is Jerry's just using these narratives to stay relevant in the media so that they are first and foremost in the A block on SportsCenter. And that is a fair thought because that is something they've done over and over again. Does RJ think that they will actually act before this year's trade deadline? We'll find out next, right here on Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star and AARP Texas are sending Cowboy fans to Jerry World to see America's team play all season long. How do you get in on the action? Head to sasportstar.com now and register to win. sasportstar.com. Live it up with the boys in the Big D from AARP Texas and 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, South Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hornitos Tequila and America's team have one major thing in common. Everyone can enjoy them. They weren't made just to have a few fans, but to gather people who love high-quality, real Texas football and premium fresh-pressed agave tequila. It's for all our fans. Whether you live in Texas or not, or sip your Hornitos in a Paloma or straight, it's 100% agave tequila for 100% of Dallas Cowboys fans. Hornitos, the tequila de todos. Drink smart. Hornitos, tequila 40% alcohol by volume. 2025 Salsa Tequila Import Company, Chicago, Illinois.
Another episode brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but Prize Picks, well, I'll tell you what, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season. As the basketball season begins, Prize Picks is here for you. And whether you're a football fan, a basketball fan, or any kind of sports fan, there's always the games to be played. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash if you're a Spurs fan. More than Victor all the time. Heck, it only takes about 60 seconds to make your picks, and you can turn those picks into cash. It feels so good being right. Now, I told you about Wemby. Dak's on an MVP kind of run. I like the more thans with Dax all season long. On Prize Pick, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the Flex Pay, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play, up to 2,000x. No matter your play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code ALAMO to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's ALAMO to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Garrett with Arasti. If you're tired of pain slowing you down from a recent injury or something that's been nagging you for years, we can help. At Arasti, we've earned the trust of over 8,000 physicians by delivering fast, lasting pain relief without painkillers or surgery. Our hands-on approach targets the root cause of pain, and most patients see results in just one visit. No referral needed, and it's covered by most insurance plans. So don't wait. Visit Arasti.com. That's AIRROSTI.com. Arasti. We fix pain fast.
Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Featured products are compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Want a boost in and out of the bedroom? Hims has you covered. Introducing a new 2-in-1 approach to level up your game. Tadalafil for better bedroom performance and zinc for testosterone support. Put it all together and you've got what you need to turn things all the way up. Getting started is simple. Just go to hims.com/joy to start your free online visit. Through Hims, you can access ED treatments, including pills, chews, and more, 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a licensed medical provider will determine if treatment's right for you. If prescribed, it ships free and discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy, HIMS.com/JOY.
The following is a dramatization.
Davis Law Firm, how can I help?
Hola, mi esposo se lastimó en un accidente ayer. ¿Me puede ayudar?
Claro que sí. Estamos aquí para servirle.
I'm Jeff Davis. At Davis Law Firm, we're here for you 24/7. Our team of Texas attorneys has been helping people injured in car, truck, or 18-wheeler wrecks for more than 25 years. And there's no fee unless we win. Y hablamos español. If you've been hurt, call us at 444-4444.
Davis Law Firm, San Antonio.
It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. I appreciate y'all joining me. You can always get at me on Twitter at I am Pledger. I am on at I am Pledger on all social media. You can also get the station at SA Sports Star. We got old Mike Brown's the coach of the Knicks now. Forgot the Knicks head coaching search. They got turned down so much. I forgot who they actually hired. Knicks Cavs going on right now on San Antonio Sports Star. The Dallas Cowboys, look, I heard the Max Crosby thing first and foremost. I was like, it's Jerry hasn't, outside of the Amari Cooper trade, out of sheer desperate need, that year. And that may be what this is, sheer desperate need with how bad the defense is. But the defense showed life last week against the Commanders. So maybe he's fooled into thinking there's something else there. But Jerry's not been prone to making a lot of trades to acquire especially big name talent in the recent past, shall we say. Will that change this year? Well, RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys joined the Blitz a little bit earlier today to discuss that and the potential of a George Pickens extension.
How about Max Crosby or somebody like that in a trade to the Dallas Cowboys? I found it shocking yesterday, quite frankly, that the Cowboys were one of the teams that were said to be interested in a Max Crosby. And quite frankly, I think it'd be a great move for that football team.
Yeah, I think the low-hanging fruit jokes are, oh, then you shouldn't have traded away Micah Parsons. Like, we all understand that, we're down the rabbit hole here, right? So just, we can admit that. But it would make so much sense. Trey Hendrickson would make sense. Like, I think that people misconstrue this idea and say, well, I don't want to do this because they're not a Max Crosby away. They're not a Trey Hendrickson away. I agree with that in a specific sense, but I would also offer you have a quarterback playing the position, the most important position in the game, better than anybody on earth right now. You have two phenomenal wide receivers and a tight end who can amplify his skills and strengths. You have a run game that's working in perfect harmony with everything. I hate the term window or win now or all in, things like that. But if those things ever fit, it's relative to this moment. You have to try. You owe it to yourself and to your roster at this point.
RJ Ochoa, bloggingtheboys.com with us here on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. I would love to have a Max Crosby. What's the price for a Max Crosby? And, Max reports out of Vegas say that the Raiders met with him yesterday and said, dude, we're not trading you. Don't ignore all the noise. Jerry, according to one, has made inquiries. According to others, Jerry hasn't picked up the phone. Jerry typically doesn't pick up the phone and call. He waits for the phone to ring. Either way, what would you think it would be a fair trade for one Max Crosby?
I think one of your ones and change, whatever that change looks like, it's probably a matter of debate and of, back and forth, a few phone calls and things like that. Maybe it's a 4th round pick. Maybe it starts as a 3rd round pick. Maybe you can whittle it down to a 5th. Maybe it's a 3rd rounder in 2027, something like that. And what I think is interesting about that is very often when we see teams who have multiple 1st round draft picks, when they trade one away, they generally send their own, right? Because you're not going to bet against yourself. You're going to assume that it's going to work out for you. But this is a mid-season trade, at least hypothetically. And so I'll ask you guys, like we know today that currently the Cowboys pick is 13th and the Packers pick is 31st. If you were the Raiders, which one would you want?
Well, you want the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Even if you think Max Crosby is going to make them better. I mean, it's an interesting wrinkle that doesn't always exist. And if you're the Cowboys, do you want to hold your own pick and therefore actually bet against yourself?
I in reality, because I've read stuff where the Raiders might want 2-1s, which I don't know that I would do if I'm Jerry Jones.
Nah.
I will give you 1-1, and you can have my 1, or you can have Green Bay's 1. We'll figure that out. And depending on what else is going to be in the mix to be able to get that deal done. But 1-1, and if it ends up being the Cowboys pick and not the Green Bay pick, I'm good with that because essentially I would have traded Micah Parsons for Max Crosby, a pick, and a Kenny Clark.
And salary cap space. I mean, if you're putting value in everything, and again, we could talk about how stupid it was to get where it got, that you could and should have taken care of Micah last March of 2024, to be clear, and then none of this ever happens. I digress. But look, and I don't think anyone's arguing this, but in case anyone is, Max Crosby is not Micah Parsons. He certainly isn't, and that's okay. But Max is in the same tier. Max is one of those handful of pass rushers who can change a game. He's in that same camp with Trey Hendrickson, with Aiden Hutchinson, again with Myles Garrett. You can rank the guys how you want, TJ Watt, but you get that guy, you get him at a lower rate, you get him on a contract that is already taken care of, so you don't have to have that song and dance routine with him. I mean, and I think that not to say that Micah is absent of this quality, but relative to a trade we have seen the Cowboys make recently, the George Pickens one, I think that George Pickens' attitude, which was a point of concern, but it has been infectious. I really do. I think the Cowboys have not had a personality like that, someone with that spirit and tenacity. And Max Crosby's that kind of guy too. Max Crosby's the kind of psycho you want playing for you in all the positive ways. And so, again, not to say that Micah isn't that guy, but he amplifies what you're trying to do in the culture that Brian Schottenheimer's trying to build.
Well, I totally agree with that. And it's about time the Cowboys had an attitude on that defense. And I think a guy like Max Crosby would do that. And I'm not going to debate who's better or what, but I think Max Crosby overall, he can help stop the run. I mean, the guy's got some pretty good hands. He's already got an interception this year. I mean, he's a good all-around player where Micah may be a better pass rusher, perhaps. I think with Crosby, you're getting a little bit of everything thrown in there. Having said all of that, and I don't want to debate you on that, I think it would be good. But there are some scenarios that have been put out by Bleacher Report that there are actually 4 teams, and it says for the Cowboys, they're speculating that it'd be a first-round pick this year and a first-round pick in 27. Plus, you throw in Mozzie Smith.
I mean, look, I don't know if that was a joke, but I know that people say things like that, like, take this dude I don't want, right? Like, it's basically like you just think like quantitatively the offer is more appealing because they can have Jalen Tolbert. Dude, you don't want Tolbert. They don't want Tolbert. I mean, and I think that ultimately you also have to have a realistic, even if you're serious about including players like this, because I've seen Tolbert, I've seen Sam Williams, I hadn't seen Mozzie until this moment. But all of those 3 players are in the final year of their contracts. What benefit, even if the Raiders were in love with them as players, they would immediately have to pay them. You have to be real. You have to be practical. Like you have to have these conversations like an adult. That's really what I'm saying.
So throw in Diggs.
That wasn't a joke. I mean, that was on the paper. I didn't make that up. Just for the record.
I mean, Trayvon is an interesting name, and it is, fun to play conspiracy theorists this time of year. We've been talking about Max Crosby, but Trey Hendrickson's name has come up. He was mentioned by Jeremy Fowler and being connected to the Cowboys, also in a contract year. But Trey did not play last Thursday night. Had an injury that he fought really hard to get through, according to all the insiders. And you do wonder, is he not playing so he can stay healthy so they can trade him? And I don't have the energy anymore. My son is almost 4, and so all my energy goes there. But I don't have the energy to drum up what the conspiracy theory would be behind Trayvon and his concussion. I'm willing to take it at full face value that it's just a concussion that's really weird, but maybe I'm naive. But again, why would anybody want to trade for Trayvon Diggs at this point in time? I think that's a question worth asking out loud, and I mean no disrespect to him.
Pete Carroll loves corners. I mean, you could throw all this spaghetti against the wall, but when you look at the way the Cowboys played Sunday against Washington, and apparently, Brian Schottenheimer spent a lot of time in the defensive meetings. They played more man coverage. Now, maybe that's because they were playing a Washington team that was down their top 3 receivers and had some practice squad guys, and your starting corner should be able to beat their practice squad guys in man-to-man coverage. That said, the defense played their best game of the year. And the way the offense is playing, do you see Jerry making a move to help the defense, whether it's Max Crosby, which is obviously the big fish, or some of the other players that might not be as big of a name or have the kind of impact you would think Max Crosby is, but incremental help that's better than what they currently have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it would be irresponsible not to, especially if you do forecast yourself if you're the Cowboys to getting compensatory picks. And that's why the Trey Hendrickson thing makes more sense to me, because they're not a team that generally trades for players with time remaining on their deals. They value the comp picks. They don't want to compromise that. They want to have that dangling as an option. And I think that, again, it will probably be a player even below the caliber of Trey Hendrickson, to be clear. But the reason that makes sense in my mind is that truly is a rental. that truly is a matter of, we think we're close now. We want to bring in someone to help us right now, and we're willing to pay a lower price to not have contractual control over him for the foreseeable future. He can go his separate way in 2026. He can net us a comp pick, and we can still hold our premium draft capital for 2026 and beyond. I think that's probably the most rational way to go about it. Although you can make the argument that you're hoping to draft a guy next year that is who Max Crosby has proven himself to be. That's why this thing is so fun. But yeah, I absolutely believe the Cowboys are going to add somebody. You have to. I mean, you simply have to. You've already made this impossible for your offense and for Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott. But guess what? They have lived up to it. They fully and totally did the super difficult thing that you asked them to do. And so you owe it to them to stabilize the defensive side of the ball, because I don't think any of us, are asking the Cowboys to be the 5th or even 10th or 12th best defense in the NFL. Go be 23rd. Go be 26th. You know what I mean? And that's enough. Like, that truly is. And so if you can get somebody to help just raise the floor that bare amount, I mean, dude, it sounds stupid and far-fetched, and this team hasn't won in 30 years, so the jokes write themselves, but you're right there. You're right there as much as anybody else, especially in an NFL where there are 3 wild cards per conference.
Well, that was RJ Ochoa earlier today on The Blitz. Of course, you can catch that full interview in the audio vault at sasportstar.com, powered by AA Best Bail Bonds. He was brought to you via the Buyers Barricades guest line. Provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond online at buyersbarricades.com. When we come back, Morning Huddle was discussing those trades and what Jerry may do himself. We'll get into that, plus your phone calls coming up, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. What do you think the Cowboys should do? Do they need to make a move? And it doesn't have to be that big of a move, or are there some other names we're not talking about? I'll bring some of them up next, right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Dallas Cowboys fans, come on down! It's AJ and Rob from the Morning Huddle, and you could be the next contestant on
The Stat Is Right. Every week leading up to the week of the Cowboys home game, AJ and Rob toss out a Cowboys player and a stat from the upcoming home game. Passing yards, rushing yards, number of times Dak adjusts his wristband mid-play, or perhaps CeeDee Lamb mouthguard chews per quarter. Whatever. All you have to do is predict that stat, get the closest, and bam! You're headed to Jerry World with a pair of tickets to the next Cowboys home game. Think of it like The Price is Right, but instead of winning a blender, you get to scream, "How about them Cowboys?" inside AT&T Stadium. So study up, Cowboy Nation, and listen to the Morning Huddle to play. The Stat Is Right, only on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, South Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys.
Connecticut water systems are the best of the best. I personally have one in my home. All those other water softener systems out there are junk in comparison.
For a limited time, receive a free reverse osmosis drinking station at your kitchen sink. $400 off with trade-in and 0% interest for 12 months with approved credit. Call Connecticut of San Antonio and the Hill Country. 210-656-PURE.
Check them out at ConnecticutSA.com. and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
License number 38961.
We love high school football and a team you can always count on. Quartermoon Plumbing, Heat, and AC. Quartermoon is here to tackle the toughest challenges, from plumbing mishaps to AC troubles, with the same dedication and passion that drives a winning touchdown. Our playbook is simple: fair prices, expert service, and a commitment to local families. Quartermoon Plumbing, Heat, and AC, your winning solution for a comfortable home. Proudly serving our community with local hospitality. From the pit house to the outhouse to the schoolhouse, call Quartermoon Plumbing, Heat, and AC.
License number TACLA 141074E M16004.
All month long, celebrate National Dessert Month at Twin Peaks with sweet endings like Cinnamon Toast Crunch Cheesecake topped with rum chata sauce, or the Twin Peaks Sundae with vanilla ice cream and warm Ghirardelli brownies, and pair it with a Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
Pork rinds are the crunch time hero of the snack aisle. Low carb, collagen packed, and high in protein, so you can keep the energy high without the guilt. The porkrinds.com Instagram will make a crunch time donation with each share of the Crunch Time Hero College Football Post, with each share equaling a $1 donation to the Archer Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping families dealing with DIPG, DMG, pediatric brain cancer. Share on Instagram today and grab yourself a bag of Southern Recipe pork rinds at H-E-B.
Hey, at Total Wine & More, you'll love what you find this Halloween.
Me thirsty.
Oh, hey, Frankenstein. Did you enjoy that Cabernet?
Oh, good. Want margarita?
Well, all the villagers are raving about this tequila.
Ooh,
And we have it at the lowest price in town.
economical.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Okay, some good news during a challenging time for everybody, and this could really help. You may know hundreds of thousands of people have already made the switch to MediShare, which is the affordable alternative to health insurance. And with so many people looking at how they're paying for healthcare right now, seeing premiums going up and the cost of healthcare, MediShare has a special offer, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. Just apply by October 31st and they'll waive your new member fee. You're saving $100 right off the bat. That's just the start. Obviously, the typical family saves up to $500 a month after making the switch. And MediShare is a Christian community that shared more than $9 billion in medical bills over the years. It's worked beautifully for decades. I'll give you the number here in a second. If you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Just tell them the promo code SHARE to get your additional savings too. Here it is. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
San Antonio Sports Stars 50K Pro Football Pick'em giveaway is back. Head to USASportsStar.com and pick the winners of each pro football game every week to earn points for each correct pick. Highest points each week wins a $25 gift card to Mellow Mushroom. Highest points overall scores $1,000 worth of tickets from A Awesome Tickets. Pick the winning ticket of every regular season game. Win the grand prize, $50,000. This is an audience national contest across multiple markets. The 50K Pro Football Giveaway. Register and win at SASportsStar.com.
Howdy, San Antonio. This is Andrew Monaco, and you're locked on the home of the Aggies, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. Appreciate y'all riding along with me tonight as we get you up till 7 o'clock, where the Cowboys Hour will take over as Brad Sham sits down with Brock Hoffman as his guest this week, who's been the starting center filling in for Cooper Beebe, who is coming off the injured reserve, designated to return, back at practice today. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But speaking of the Cowboys, are there moves that they need to make before the deadline? Well, Rob and AJ on the Morning Huddle were talking about that this morning.
Here's Jerry talking about if there's potential to trade a player at the deadline.
Well, I don't. When you say see the potential, I assume you're asking what degree of potential.
Yeah.
And candidly, I don't necessarily see a high degree there, but I don't want to preclude it from happening. We should be constantly, and believe you me, we are all the time.
Believe you me,
communicating with possibilities to get better with our roster, or to address soft spots in the roster. What you really need to ask the question is, did the win Sunday cause us to think more that we're more likely to trade or get a trade today than if we'd lost?
That's what they asked.
Isn't that a good way to catch that question?
Yep.
So
And
what's the answer?
is no.
Yeah, so what's the answer?
The
That's what I keep
answer is no.
thinking. No,
So-
okay.
no.
When you
Win
have
Sunday didn't affect that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
If the Raiders called you today and said, we will trade you Max and all that money, but we want Pickens and one of your draft picks,
I would do that in a
We want
heartbeat.
Pickens and 2 of your draft picks.
No,
because I have a feeling that's what I'd be asking for.
I mean, Pickens is that's a good asset already.
Well, I know if I'm
now it's an asset that's expiring.
That's what I'm saying. And they could probably go get him, but they probably, if they get him in-house, could sign him cheaper. I'm just trying to find where there's an opportunity with the Cowboys. Where, if we are looking, what are you willing to give up? Because
I would give up.
You're gonna have to give up something, because if you get a guy like Crosby, you're handing the Cowboys a playoff berth. And that's with giving up Pickens. I think this offense would not be nearly as good, but the defense would be so much better, and you'd have a closer in the fourth. You're giving them a playoff. You're giving it to them. So I think anybody of merit, I'm charging through the nose with the Cowboys. That's why I don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah, if I'm the Raider, and the Raiders, I think the Raiders keep saying they don't want to trade Max Crosby, and I don't blame them. Max Crosby he's the face of their franchise, but their franchise sucks. They've got to do something to turn things around, which really means they're going to have to draft a quarterback, and they're going to have to hit on it. But they need much more than a quarterback. I wouldn't blame them for moving on, but I think that asking for 2 firsts for a guy you're already paying a ton of money to, I don't think that happens.
Well, yeah, the reason I think the Cowboys are primed for Crosby is because he's already said, I would have spent the money on Micah. I would have. It was other stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think he would more than happily take on a Max Crosby contract.
Which, by the way, that's one thing that got covered up by the Cowboys having a big win was Micah Parsons having a 3-sack day.
Yeah, man.
Which I didn't realize it. That was the first 3-sack game of his career.
Yeah. But Jadeveon Clowney got one for the Cowboys. So
same thing. Same.
Out.
Same. Basically
Almost.
Exactly the same guy.
So, will the Cowboys make a move? Of course, Max Crosby, I don't think the Raiders want to get rid of him unless they're blown away. For Max Crosby, I mean, he's making the lower end of top money. While Micah's at 47, Crosby's in the 30s. Which, when you look at what people are being paid, that's really good. So I think contract, controllability, age, production, unless you're blown away, you keep one. And most Cowboy fans, they don't want to part with 2 first-round picks, so what's the point? So you start looking at other players. Trey Hendrickson's a name that's been brought up a lot that could potentially be on the trade block, and I get that. I mean, he would, like he said, truly be a rental. But it's not just the defensive line. People are saying they need help in the secondary. Tyreek Woolen, UTSA's own, has been a name that has been bandied about in trade conversations out of Seattle because of all the investment they have there. Could Dallas look to strengthen their secondary by adding a guy like Reek Woolen? Is that a possibility? Could you potentially see them going after an edge rusher like Jalen Phillips in Miami? Alontae Taylor, cornerback from the New Orleans Saints. They need help at linebacker. How about Christian Harris? He looks like he's on the outs in Houston. Cincinnati, if we go back to the well with Trey Hendrickson, you have Logan Wilson there. Arden Key. Jeffrey Simmons, although we've been told Jeffrey Simmons is also, like Max Crosby, untouchable. And the other thing with the Jeffrey Simmons thing that I keep seeing brought up is Jeffrey Simmons would give you just extended Osa Odighizuwa. You just traded for Kenny Clark. Now, no, there's questions of whether he'll be around after this year. You're picking up the contract or moving ways. Like, those are all questions with Kenny Clark, but they have spoken glowingly about Kenny Clark leadership, his production on the field at every turn that they can. And Jeffrey Simmons is a monster. So what are you doing? Because you can really only have 2 defensive tackles on the field at a time for the most part. Jeffrey Simmons would be nice. And I see you, Josh. They need Jeffrey Simmons. What they need is Wyatt Teller and Joel Benito from the Browns. Like, I'd love a Jeffrey Simmons, but let's face it, they need help on that offensive line, especially the interior of that offensive line. That's what the Texans need. What do the Spurs need tonight to get a win? We're going to preview Spurs Mavericks, get you ready for that game coming up at 8:30. That's next. Plus, what do you want to see from the Spurs in this opening game and through the first part of the season, the first month and a half of the season? By the time we get to December, where do you want the Spurs to be at? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. We get you ready for Spurs Mavs coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
South Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Sunday afternoon at 3:25. The Cowboys are in Denver taking on the Broncos at Empower Field at Mile High. Pre-game at 2:30. Presented by AA Best Bail Bonds, the Davis Law Firm, Hornitos Tequila, Connecticut, and Jim B. You like that? How about them Cowboys? 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. South Texas home of the Dallas Cowboys.
You hear that? That's the sound of your business losing money. Legacy phone systems weren't built for today's teams. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, gives your business a smarter way to stay connected. Quo lets you manage calls, texts, voicemail, and contacts all in one place so that you can deliver a seamless customer experience from ring to... Need to take calls on the go? Quo automatically transcribes, summarizes, and highlights next steps from every call, so you never miss a detail. Need insight into what closes a sale? With Quo's AI call tags, you can instantly spot key topics like objections or pricing questions and use those insights to level up every customer interaction. And yes, you can bring your existing number with you for free. Keep your team in sync and your customers happy with Quo. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/sports and get 20% off your first 6 months. That's quo.com/sports. QUO.com/sports.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code SportsBeat. That's promo code SportsBeat. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass plus $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Let's go.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Awesome Tickets is your personal ticket broker. Big games, big concerts, big events. Need tickets? Stay local and call Awesome Tickets. Stop paying all those crazy fees on ticket apps. Awesome Tickets has your tickets for all the sports, concerts, any city, any event. Avoid the ticket app fees. Since 1994, Awesome Tickets is local and veteran-owned. You deserve Awesome Tickets. Call 210-226-5136 or online at awesometix.com. That's awesometix.com.
Connecticut water systems are the best of the best. I personally have one in my home. All those other water softener systems out there are junk in comparison.
For a limited time, receive a free reverse osmosis drinking station at your kitchen sink. $400 off with trade-in and 0% interest for 12 months with approved credit. Call Connecticut of San Antonio and the Hill Country. 210-656-PURE.
Check them out at Connecticut, PricePicks.com and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
License number 38961.
94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, South Texas home for Texas A&M football. Saturday night at 6:30. The Aggies take on the LSU Tigers. Presented by Just Pots. Pre-game at 5:30 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. You can get me on social medias at I am Pledger. You can get the station at SA Sports Star. Before we talk about the Spurs, interesting thing. Projection for wide receiver George Pickens, projected to sign a 4-year, $144 million contract extension, which would be an annual average value of $36 million a year, second highest paid receiver ever. He's represented by David Mulugeta. Can the Cowboys get to that number? Would you be okay paying two $36 million a year wide receivers as a Cowboys fan? And how does that change how you construct your roster, especially now with Micah gone? Just for me, very, very interesting to kind of talk about the inner workings of the cap and how you fit all those things in place. But the Spurs, they are in action tonight. They are taking on the Mavericks. Just saw Cooper Flagg walking into the building. What are your early expectations for the Spurs, especially in tonight's game? I expect to see them win. I need to see them win. I need to see them carry over what we saw in the preseason, especially on the defensive end. I thought they played well offensively. They got things going. I want to be able to see them not chuck threes just to chuck threes, but more so that is the open and best shot. I'd like to see them really, really penetrate and get in the lane so that they can make the outside portion for guys like Harrison Barnes or the guys that should be out there easier, less contested shots, and let Castle and Wemby and those guys do their things from inside the paint. And I think that's going to be something very interesting to watch. Also, what does the defense look like when Victor Wembanyama is not on the court? How much help does having Luke Cornett backing him up now give them in terms of moving this thing forward? To me, that's going to be a very, very interesting thing to keep an eye on. Remember, 8:30 tip-off. Coming up next, though, don't forget to go vote. Vote. Props A and B. It's coming. Plus, call your loved ones, check on them. You never know what people are going through in life. Coming up next, we got the Cowboys Hour with Brad Sham and his guest, Brock Hoffman.
San Antonio Sports Star.
Another episode brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but Prize Picks, well, I'll tell you what, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season. As the basketball season begins, Prize Picks is here for you. And whether you're a football fan, a basketball fan, or any kind of sports fan, there's always the games to be played. Prize Picks is the best way to win cash if you're a Spurs fan. More than Victor all the time. Heck, it only takes about 60 seconds to make your picks, and you can turn those picks into cash. It feels so good being right. I told you about Wemby. Dak's on an MVP kind of run. I like the more thans with Dax all season long. On Prize Pick, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the Flex Pay, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play, up to 2,000x. No matter your play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the Prize Picks app today.